If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. There are moments in sports that transcend the box score, moments where the stat sheet barely scratches the surface of the story being told on the field. Sunday afternoon in Cleveland gave us one of those moments, one of those raw, emotional chapters that will live in the memory of a franchise, a fan base, and a young player who has already carried more weight than most rookies ever should. The Cleveland Browns walked off their home field with a 13-10 win over the Green Bay Packers, and while the scoreboard told the tale of a defensive slugfest and a clutch finish, the real story belonged to rookie kicker Andre Whitey. With the game tied, the pressure suffocating, and the city holding its collective breath, Whitey stepped up and drilled a 55-yard game winner that will not only define the early stage of his career, but may very well redefine the Browns' belief in themselves moving forward. Think about this. The Browns hadn't won a game yet in 2025. The season had opened in disappointing fashion, the offense sputtering, the defense doing its best, but wearing down as the weeks dragged on. And then here comes Green Bay, a team that has haunted the Browns historically, a team that looked ready to deliver another painful lesson. For 3 quarters, Cleveland couldn't get much going. Joe Flacco, pressed into service as the steady veteran presence under center, battled but struggled to string together drives. The run game was bottled up, the passing attack never found rhythm, and the fans who braved the cold began to sink into familiar frustration. But then came Quinton Judkins, the rookie running back, who has been one of the lone bright spots in a rough start to the year, took a handoff in the fourth quarter and broke free for a breathtaking 38-yard run. It was the spark this offense had been begging for, and it set up the Browns' first real push. Whitey trotted out and calmly knocked through a 35-yard field goal to cut the deficit to 7 with under 4 minutes to go. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hope. That hope turned to belief just moments later. Safety Grant Delpit, one of the anchors of the defense, read the Packers' quarterback perfectly and jumped a pass for a huge interception. The stadium erupted, and suddenly, momentum was a real thing. The Browns went right back to Judkins, who muscled his way into the end zone from 1 yard out, and after Whitey drilled the PAT, the game was tied. It felt like fate was beginning to bend in Cleveland's favor, but anyone who's followed this team long enough knows that fate isn't usually so kind. Green Bay moved quickly into field goal range in the final minute, setting up what looked like a soul-crushing finish. But this time, the Browns had one more answer. Cornerback Denzel Ward and defensive tackle Shelby Harris combined for a clutch block on the Packers' kick attempt, sending the stadium into pure chaos. The game wasn't over, but the window was wide open. And then came the drive. Flacco, with the calm of a man who has seen just about everything football can throw at you, delivered a couple of key completions to move the ball into striking distance. With the clock ticking down and no more time to waste, it was all up to the rookie. Andre Whitey, 26 years old, a player still carving out his place in this league, jogged onto the field with the weight of the city on his shoulders. 55 yards. Pressure at maximum volume. Questions about his future swirling in the background. A calf injury that had him listed as questionable just 2 days earlier. And more than anything, the memory of his mother, who passed away just months ago, watching from above. The snap was clean, the hold was perfect, and Whitey's right leg swung through the ball like it had a lifetime of destiny behind it. Straight, true, and with room to spare, the kick soared through the uprights. Bedlam. Browns players poured onto the field, mobbing their kicker, lifting him into the air, celebrating not just a win, but a moment of resilience, redemption, and pure heart. Afterward, head coach Kevin Stefanski didn't hold back. He gave the game ball to Whitey and reminded him of everything he's already overcome. "You've been through a lot," Stefanski said. "We've got your back. And I know who was watching that field goal go through. That was your mom. Congratulations." It was a powerful, human reminder that football, for all its brutality, is still about people and their stories. Whitey isn't just a kicker. He's a son who lost his mother to a sudden brain aneurysm in July, a young man who kept working through his grief, and a professional athlete proving he belongs on one of the toughest stages in sports. What makes this moment even more special is how shaky his road has been to this point. In preseason, he nailed a game winner against the Los Angeles Rams. earning him the starting job over veteran Dustin Hopkins. It was a high point, the kind of moment that makes you believe the kid has ice in his veins. But the NFL can be cruel. Weeks later, against the Bengals, he missed both a PAT and a field goal in a 1-point loss, and suddenly the chatter began. Was he in over his head? Was Cleveland going to cut him loose? The whispers grew louder, and even when he rebounded with a perfect performance against the Ravens in Week 2, the doubt lingered. SCMYT himself summed it up perfectly. Not let the highs get too high, and not letting the lows get too low. That's the life of a kicker in the NFL. One moment you're the hero, the next you're the villain. Every kick feels like a referendum on your career. Every miss echoes louder than a make. And yet, he kept his head down, kept working, and believed that he was here for a reason. On Sunday, that belief was rewarded in the most dramatic way possible. And here's where the story deepens. This wasn't just about SCMYT. This was about a Browns team that desperately needed a reason to believe in itself again. A franchise that has been through years of heartbreak found itself with a hero whose personal journey mirrors the grit they want to embody. A defense that refused to break, a rookie running back who wouldn't quit, a veteran quarterback who steadied the ship, and a rookie kicker who brought it all home. This was Cleveland football at its most authentic. Not pretty, not easy, but resilient. For SCMYT, this could be the turning point in a career that's just beginning. He knows as well as anyone that the job won't get easier. The questions won't stop. The pressure won't fade. But on Sunday, he proved to himself, to his teammates, and to an entire city that he has the toughness, the talent, and the heart to handle it. Stefanski said it best. This is the NFL. It's hard. You're going to go up against some tough teams and some tough matchups, and you have to fight, scratch, and claw. SCMYT fought, scratched, and clawed, and he came out on top. And maybe, just maybe, this is the kind of win that changes the trajectory of a season. The Browns aren't going to suddenly turn into an offensive juggernaut overnight. There are still issues to fix, still holes to patch. But sometimes, one win, one moment, can shift the mindset of a team. To see their rookie kicker step up and deliver in the clutch, to feel the energy of a stadium finally rewarded with joy instead of heartbreak, that can matter more than any statistic. In the end, this wasn't just a football game. It was a story of resilience, of loss turned into triumph, of a city rallying behind a young man who has already given them more than points on a scoreboard. Andre SCMYT's game winner wasn't just 3 points. It was a statement. And for the first time in 2025, the Browns were winners. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. The NFL world woke up to a storm of whispers, headlines, and fan reactions after an unexpected development that nobody saw coming. SHEDEUR Sanders, the young quarterback who has been under the microscope ever since his college days, reportedly lost his cool behind the scenes with the Cleveland Browns and made a decision that has everyone in shock. What seemed like a steady path of growth and adaptation into the league suddenly got shaken up by an outburst that insiders are already describing as a pivotal moment in the Browns season. And let's be honest, the Browns have been living through their fair share of drama over the years. But this one feels different because it revolves around a rising star who was supposed to be the future, who was supposed to carry that promise and swagger that fans have been waiting for. Rumors began swirling after what looked like a tense practice session. Multiple reports indicate that SHEDEUR Sanders was visibly frustrated, exchanging heated words with coaches, teammates, and even members of the staff. Some accounts suggest that the breaking point came during a team drill where Sanders was pressured by the defensive line, leading to a series of botched plays and a reaction that spiraled far beyond what anyone could have predicted. People in attendance claimed that the quarterback slammed his helmet to the ground, shouted in frustration, and walked straight off the field before anyone could intervene. The silence in the facility after that was described as chilling, the kind of silence where everyone realizes something has shifted in the dynamic of the team. And from that moment, the question lingered in the air: what would SHEDEUR do next? Well, the answer shocked everyone. According to those close to the situation, Sanders didn't just leave the field, he left with a decision in his heart. A decision that he reportedly communicated shortly after, catching teammates, coaches, and even his father, Deion Sanders, completely off guard. Sources claim that SHEDEUR told key people in the Browns organization that he would not continue under the current conditions, that he felt misunderstood, underutilized, and unfairly criticized. That's not just frustration talking. That's the voice of a young star who feels cornered, who feels like the spotlight has been burning rather than illuminating. And just like that, the narrative flipped from promise and patience to turmoil and uncertainty. No one expected him to go that far. But here we are, watching the Browns season potentially turn upside down before it's even fully taken shape. It's important to remember who SHEDEUR Sanders is in the broader story of football. He's not just another rookie trying to find his place. He carries the weight of a famous last name, the charisma of his father, and the scrutiny of the media that follows every step he takes. That combination is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it brings him opportunities, visibility, and a fan base that believes in him before he even proves himself. On the other hand, it sets expectations so high that even small setbacks feel like catastrophic failures in the eyes of critics. The Browns, with their complicated history of quarterback experiments, seemed like a team willing to gamble on his potential, willing to give him space to grow. But with this outburst, with this decision, the relationship suddenly looks fragile, and the franchise is left wondering whether they've just stumbled into yet another quarterback saga. Inside the locker room, reactions are reportedly mixed. Some teammates have expressed sympathy, saying that the pressure on Sanders has been unfair and that he's been carrying too much responsibility too soon. Others, however, are frustrated, believing that walking away or threatening to do so shows a lack of maturity and commitment to the grind. Football is, after all, a game that demands resilience, where every player has to face adversity and respond with discipline. For Sanders to lose his cool in such a dramatic fashion sends a message, intentional or not, about his readiness for the league. And that's the question that scouts, analysts, and fans are now debating relentlessly. Is this a momentary lapse, or is this a sign of deeper issues with his mentality? The Browns coaching staff, meanwhile, has been caught in the middle of the storm. Reports suggest that there were already tensions behind the scenes regarding play calling, offensive schemes, and the way Sanders was being integrated into the system. Some insiders say that SHEDEUR felt the offense wasn't built to highlight his strengths, that he was being forced into a mold that didn't suit his natural playmaking style. That's not an unusual complaint for young quarterbacks, but the Browns have invested heavily in trying to stabilize the position, and patience is not something this organization has always shown. The fact that this conflict escalated so quickly has left many wondering if the coaching staff underestimated Sanders' temperament, if they misread just how much he wanted control and freedom on the field. That miscalculation could now cost them dearly. For fans, this is just another chapter in the never-ending saga of hope and heartbreak. Cleveland supporters, who have endured decades of ups and downs, were beginning to rally behind Sanders as a potential long-term solution, a player who could finally bring some consistency to the most important position in football. His swagger, his confidence, his flashes of brilliance had stirred excitement, had made people believe that maybe this time things would be different. And yet, the narrative now feels painfully familiar. Promise followed by chaos. Optimism drowned by controversy. Social media exploded the moment the story broke, with hashtags flying, debates raging, and clips of the practice meltdown being shared endlessly. It's become a viral moment, but not the kind of viral Sanders or the Browns wanted. Now the big question is, what happens next? Will the Browns try to smooth things over, offering Sanders reassurances, adjustments, and perhaps even more influence in the offense? Or will this mark the beginning of a rocky relationship that ends before it ever truly begins? There are whispers that Sanders' camp has already discussed potential exits, though nothing concrete has been put on the table. Still, the fact that such talks are even being mentioned shows how fragile the situation has become. For a player with so much potential, the idea of a split this early feels almost unthinkable. Yet in the unpredictable world of the NFL, nothing can be ruled out. What makes this story even more compelling is the shadow of Deion Sanders. As both a father and a legendary figure in football, his presence looms over every decision SHEDEUR makes. People are already speculating on how much influence Deion might have in this situation, whether he's advising patience or pushing his son to stand firm and demand respect. That dynamic adds another layer of intrigue, because any move SHEDEUR makes will be scrutinized not only as his own, but as part of the larger Sanders brand that has been growing over the past few years. In a sense, this isn't just about one quarterback in one team. It's about the intersection of family, legacy, and the ruthless business of the NFL. In the end, what we're left with is a moment that captures the volatility of professional football. A young star, frustrated and emotional, making a decision that reverberates far beyond the locker room. A franchise that thought it had found stability, suddenly facing another storm of uncertainty. And fans caught in the middle, once again asking themselves if the Browns are cursed, if they are destined to ride this roller coaster of highs and lows forever. For SHEDEUR Sanders, this could either be the wake-up call that fuels his growth or the turning point that defines him in a way no one expected. Either way, this story is far from over, and you can bet the entire football world will be watching every next move. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!